and I'm Kakuli ma'am, and together we not only learn English but we love literature and appreciate its beauty, definitely with the view of getting very good marks in our class 12 board examination. We have already embarked into our term 2 syllabus. As you know, I have already uploaded a couple of videos on term 2 syllabus, and today we are doing a very interesting and an intriguing chapter called Should Wizard Hit Mommy by John Updike. It is a chapter from Vistas. Now, in this chapter or through this chapter, the author has tried to give a message to the readers, or ask an eternal question that exists in the society. What is it that we will definitely discuss? This chapter is apparently very simple. If we go through the chapter, it is actually a storytelling session between a father and his small little daughter of 4 years called Joe. Okay, father is Jack. He's telling a story to his daughter called Joe. Okay, so it's very simple that way. But through the story, the author is trying to convey some messages, or as I told you, he's asking some questions that have been prevailing in the society for ages. What are they? Number one, the first theme we can say is generation gap. As we know, every generation has generation gap. Parents think in some different way. Children have their own opinions. So generation gap is the first theme. Actually, all the things are interlinked, but okay. Number two is the child's perspective, child's thought process versus the adults or the father's thought process. The child is represented by the small little daughter, 4-year-old daughter called Joe, and the adult is represented by his father, Jack. Okay? Now the third question, as I told you, the themes are interlinked, that comes to our mind is, how far should parents impose their opinion, their thought process on their children? Okay, how far they should dictate the terms and conditions on their children, and are the parents always correct, or should they consider the views or the perspective or the mental condition of their children as well? Or are the parents always right just because they have a lot of experience? They are the well-wishers, they have farsight, they have seen the world. Are they always right? So these are the topics or the questions that we deal in this chapter. So a very interesting chapter, a little difficult. So don't, fast forward or jump through the videos. Look at the entire video, because every little point is important, and this time you will have short analytical questions. So everything that happens can be analyzed in different manner. Questions can be framed. So please watch the entire video. And I've forgotten to tell you, if you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do so, because it will be immensely helpful to you in these few months. Okay, now let's begin. As the story begins, we find that the father, as I told you, Jack, is telling story, or about to begin, I should say, not really telling, about to tell a story to his daughter Joe. Okay, now, and this is a regular affair. Regular affair means every evening before going to bed, he tells story to Joe. And this is going on for 2 long years. Not only every day in the evening, but even Saturday afternoon, he tells story, bedtime story to the child. Now, as a result, what has happened, that storytelling session has become a little monotonous. Why has it become monotonous? Because the father is honestly running out of stock. Okay, for 2 years, poor thing, he has been telling stories. So now he has no more ideas of telling story. So it is becoming a little fatiguing. This word is there on page 49. Why is it fatiguing? It is especially fatiguing on Saturday. Why? Number one, as I told you, that he is running out of ideas because he is continuing with this ritual for 2 long years every day and Saturday afternoons. And moreover, Joe doesn't sleep after listening to the story. See, try to understand. The basic purpose of this storytelling session is to make Joe fall asleep. But nowadays, what happens is, especially on Saturday afternoons, Joe doesn't sleep. So the entire exercise of Jack becomes futile, becomes useless. So it is becoming a little tiring for him. Fatiguing means tiring. So this can be a question. One very important question can be asked from here, children. That is, what is the basic structure of the story? You know, the story that he told was more or less similar, I should say, if not same. The structure was same. Now, what was the structure? Let's see. Jack would always say that there would be an animal in the forest called Roger. It can be a Roger monkey, it can be a Roger squirrel, it can be a Roger chipmunk, whatever it is. A Roger animal would be there, and that fellow would have some trouble. No, he would be in some problem. So he would go to the owl. There is a wise owl in the forest. You know, this is a story told to a child of 4 years. Try to understand. So it has to have animals and fairy tale-ish quality to make it fascinating for the child. So this Roger animal would go to that owl and disclose its problem, that I have this trouble. Then the owl would direct that animal towards an wizard. Now, what is the meaning of the word wizard? Wizard is the male version of a witch, which we all know. So wizard is the male version of a witch. That means he has a lot of magical powers. Okay, so he has magical powers. He's not a magician that way. He really has extraordinary magical qualities. Okay, so he is a wizard. So the owl would direct a Roger animal to the wizard, and he would go to the wizard, tell all his troubles to the wizard, and the wizard will do some magic trick, abracadabra, and he would be, whatever trouble he had would disappear. Okay, he would be relieved from that trouble that he had. Okay, after that the wizard will ask for some money, means his fees, obviously remuneration, and he himself will tell कि you go there, उस जंगल के पास चले जाओ, उस पेड़ के नीचे चले जाओ, उस well के नीचे चले जाओ, whatever he would direct, and the Roger animal would go there, get the money and come back and give it back to the wizard. Okay, and he would be very happy because his problem is solved. Now he would come back home, and the father of the Roger animal would come in the train from Boston, and they would have a lovely sumptuous dinner. Now this would be the story every day. So you will be wondering कि मैम फिर तो story तो same ही है, फिर है क्या नया? नया है, 2-3 चीजें नया होता था story में. Number 1, the animal would be different every day. Number 2, his problems would be different every day. Okay, so these were the things that were different. Otherwise, the skeletal structure of the story would remain the same, right? Now, as Jack was thinking about which animal to tell the story that day, then Joe suggested the name of an animal. She closed her eyes and said, Skunk. we will listen about skunk. Now, skunk is an animal like a squirrel, and it has a very strange foul smell of its own. Okay, Jo must have learned it because she is going to nursery schools. So Jack was interested. Suddenly an enthusiasm came in Jack with the thought of some new story and a new animal and some new plot. Okay, so he started his story. And one thing we have to understand over here, Jack is a very good storyteller, because the same story he has been telling for years and years, rather 2 years, and he knows how to capture the attention of this child, how to do voice modulation, how to animate, means with his hands, with his voice, with his expressions, he made the stories very, very interesting for the child. So he started his story. He said, there was in the woods a skunk, and he smelled very bad, and because of that bad smell, his friends did not play with him, and whenever he came, they sang a very bad, in the sense, a humiliating song for him, and they ran away without playing. What was it? Here comes Roger's stinky skunk, they would say, and they would run away. Now here, two things we have to understand, children, very, very important. Please, make a note. Number one, as Jack was telling this, it is very clearly told over here, there is some autobiographical element over here. इसका क्या मतलब है autobiographical element? जैक के साथ भी ऐसा कुछ humiliating affair हुआ था when he was a small boy. Exactly क्या हुआ था, क्यों बच्चे नहीं खेलते थे उसके साथ, ये हमको नहीं पता, but something had happened with him. He would also be an outcast. Outcast मतलब marginalized, जिसके साथ हम नहीं खेलते, बात नहीं करते, ऐसा. So he would also be an outcast. He would also be isolated from the group for some reason. Okay, so he remembered that pain and that humiliation, और वो उस चीज को दिमाग में रखते हुए ये कहानी बता रहा था. Okay, this is number one. Number two, again very important, is as the story began, now we find that Joe feels very sad for this Roger skunk. Why? Because Roger skunk is a small baby skunk, and his friends are not playing with him. He is in deep pain. He is crying. Tears roll down his eyes. इसका दुख सुन के Joe was also feeling very, very sad, because she is a child who has started going to school. Okay, she knows the importance of friends, so she could empathize with the pain of Roger skunk. See, these small little things, children, we have to understand, क्योंकि the entire story इसी के ऊपर based है. We have to understand that Joe is empathizing with the baby Roger skunk. Okay, so she started feeling very sad for Roger skunk. Now the story continued. And as you know, Roger skunk was very sad. He was in trouble. So what was the solution he had? As I told you, the story, the basic structure is same. So Roger skunk went to that wise owl in the forest, and he told that nobody plays with me. I have a bad smell. And the owl said, yeah, you really smell very awful. Okay, he said, yeah, but what can I do? Then the owl said, you go to the wizard. Or how to go? She told the direction ki aise you go and you will get the wizard. Now, as the story was being narrated by Jack, Joe would constantly interrupt and ask questions. Again, this is a very important aspect of this story. Okay, we have to understand this very, very carefully. Now, Joe was growing. When Joe was small, whatever story was told to her, she would believe. वो सवाल नहीं पूछता था, क्योंकि जो भी उसको बताया जा रहा है, she would accept, she would believe without questioning. But abhi wo dheere dheere badi ho rahi hai. She has started going to school. Okay, so now she doesn't accept everything unquestioningly. Okay, so now as Jack narrates the story, she interrupts Jack and asks certain questions. Now, what are the questions? They are very, very important for your questions again and for your analytical, questions. I'll tell you how. I'll explain. First of all, she asks, Father, are magic spells real? ओके, ये जादू, ये मैजिक, ये एक्चुअली है क्या, होता है क्या? नाउ दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन. इफ जैक सेज यस, then he will teach the girl magic and wizard and witchcraft and all that, which is definitely not right. If he says no, तब तो पूरा कहानी खराब हो जाएगा, because from last 2 years he has been telling her the story of witch and wizard and all these problems and the magic and everything. So he very diplomatically, tactfully says yes, magic spells are real only in stories. हाँ, कहानी में सच है, in real life में नहीं होता. So this is a very intelligent way of answering the question. Now we get one more very, very important line over here. This was a new phase. Page 50, children. As I always tell you, please sit with the book and underline when I'm teaching. It will be very helpful to you. So page 50, a new phase, a reality phase. ये कौन सा phase है अभी जो मैंने explain किया? Now Joe has started asking questions. Okay, there are 2 examples also given over here. When Jack had told Joe that spiders eat insects, then also she was not very sure. She asked her mother. When her mother said that God is everywhere and he is watching us, that time also she was not very sure. She asked her father, is he? So this is the reality check phase. A 2-marker question, a short question can come from here. What is this new phase? What is the reality phase? So we have to explain this part. Okay, so that Joe has started questioning everything. Now after this he continued with the story, though he was a little disturbed because Joe interrupted in his storytelling, because he was in a flow. Okay, and that interruption came, so it was a little disturbing for him, but he continued. Finally, they reached that most important part of the story, the house of the wizard. Okay, because the wizard, that magician with extraordinary powers, obviously that is the most important part of the story. And Jack explained it in a very beautiful way. As I told you, he's an excellent storyteller. Then Jack continued with the story. The Roger Skunk told the wizard about his problem, that he smells bad, his friends do not play with him, and as we know, wizard has magical powers. So he did a magic trick, abracadabra, hocus foo and all that, and he changed that foul, bad, stinking smell of the wizard, of the skunk, to a beautiful rose smell, and the whole room was filled with the smell of rose. Okay, so the problem was solved. As we know, after the problem is solved, the wizard would ask for money. So he asked for money, and again it was a problem for the poor animal, that Roger Skunk, because he didn't have so much of money. But the wizard has solution for that also. He said, you go there near the well and you will find the pennies lying over there. So Roger Skunk went there, he got the money, he came back, he gave the wizard, and he was very happy and he was very excited. He came back to his friends smelling beautifully of roses, and they had a nice, playful, evening. They played all kinds of games, basketball, football, lacrosse and soccer and hockey and everything they could manage. They played and they were very, very happy. Okay, now what do we feel? What you feel, what I feel or Joe felt was what? That the story has come to the end. Isn't it? Again, very, very important part, children. Please listen and understand very carefully. Very important question can be framed from here. So because the story was coming to the end, और हम सबको पता है कि एंड में क्या होना है, प्रॉब्लम तो सॉल्व हो ही गया है. Now Roger Skunk will come back home and his father will come back from Boston and they will have a lovely sumptuous dinner and the story will come to the end. Now what happens, Joe becomes a little restless क्योंकि कहानी का जो that main interesting captivating part was there, that is done, that is that wizard episode. She was very happy to listen to that, but that part is now over. So she was becoming a little restless. वो इधर उधर देख रही थी, वो she was not paying attention to her father anymore. Now this irritated Jack a lot. Now on page 53, children, very important question, and two questions rather I can say can come from here. Very important, please mark page 53, and again and again I'm saying there is a line, third line, Jack didn't like women when they took anything for granted. He liked them apprehensive, hanging on his words. A little negative idea we form of Jack from these lines. Why it is told by the author, it's not explained. Let's see. Jack wanted women, to be kind of under his control. He didn't want women to be neglecting him or taking him for granted. Okay, he wanted women to be apprehensive, to be waiting for his, to be governed by him or under his control. Something like that is told over here very clearly. So when Joe was getting distracted, was not listening to him or paying attention to him, he was very angry. What did he do? He changed the ending of the story. So a very important question can come from here. What was the ending of this Roger Skunk story? Why did Jack change the ending? So we have to very clearly say that Joe was getting distracted and Jack did not like women to take him for granted. So he changed the ending to grab the attention of his daughter again. Okay, one more point. The second reason is he wanted to give her a lesson. Give her a lesson means not in a negative way, I'm saying, means to convey a message, to teach her something important. And what was it? That is what we are discussing now. We will discuss it. Okay, so let's see. Now, as the baby skunk came back to his home, very happy, elated and excited, contrary to his expectation, his mother was very angry. He said, "What are you smelling like? You don't smell like a skunk." But he said, "Mom, I am smelling so beautiful and my friends have played with me. Try to understand." But the mother was very angry and very adamant. She asked that, "How come you have changed?" Then the skunk said that, "I had gone to the wizard and the wizard had cast a spell on me and I have changed this perfume or smell of mine to the rose fragrance." The mother was furious. She said, "Take me to the wizard," and she took an umbrella and she went to the wizard, and Jack was about to tell this, that she would go to the wizard and would hit the wizard. But at that point of time, Joe was very angry. Now here, lot of things we have to understand, children. Very important for us to understand the entire picture, entire scenario. As I told you earlier, Joe was identifying herself with Roger Skunk क्योंकि उसको ये लग रहा था कि how does it matter, वो rose smell हो, वो कुछ भी हो, as far as he is being accepted by his friends. That is very important क्योंकि for a small child or for a teenager, whoever, like as I told you, this is a story of generation gap. So बच्चों के लिए acceptance by his peer group is very important. Okay, so how does it matter? So Joe was very angry that why the mother was not able to understand the problem, the pain of her son, and why was she insisting to get back his original foul smell. उसमें क्या होगा, फिर से फ्रेंड्स नहीं खेलेंगे, फिर से वो अकेला हो जाएगा, फिर से वो दुखी हो जाएगा. So Joe was not ready to accept this ending of the story. Now let us come to the mother's viewpoint, or the adult viewpoint, or the father, that is Jack's viewpoint. Same hai ye तीनों. Why was the mother insisting, this is again very important, why was the mother insisting that the skunk, her son, should change the smell back to the original foul smell? Because that was his identity, that was his individuality. And our parents, or your parents, the older generation always tells us what? That you have to retain your identity, your individuality. Don't change your individuality, don't change your identity under peer pressure, under society pressure. Don't change it. This is what we tell as parents, as elders. But the child, that is Joe or that Roger Skunk, इसका व्यू पॉइंट क्या है? इनके लिए एक्सेप्टेंस बाय द फ्रेंड्स, एक्सेप्टेंस बाय द सोसाइटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके लिए अगर उसका आइडेंटिटी चेंज करना पड़ा, if they have to shirk their identity, that is not important for them. Okay, ये अच्छे से we have to understand this is what the story is about. The parents want us to retain our identity, our individuality, or in this case, what was it? The foul smell of Roger Skunk was his identity. Okay, this is very, very important. So now that clash begins, clash in the sense a little conflict. Jack was adamant. He said that no. The mother goes to the wizard with that umbrella, hits the wizard on his head, and the wizard is forced to change the smell back to original smell. And Joe is saying, no, you have to change the ending of the story. I don't like this ending. The wizard will hit the mommy on her head with his magic stick, and he will not change the smell back to the foul smell. So this conflict continues, and as we come to the next page also, this is going on in the sense, Jack is adamant that no, the original smell is retrieved, and Joe says no, let the skunk be happy, play with his friends, and how does it matter whether he let go of his identity and he has got his rose smell. Okay, so this continues. Over here, I'll draw your attention to a phrase that was a stupid mommy. Very important again for question, children, page 54. Okay, over here, stupid mommy. Why does Joe call the mommy? Who is the mommy over here? The mother skunk. Stupid. Now we have to understand this. Just now I explained also to you almost, because she was very upset that the mother was not able to understand the pain, the isolation, the humiliation of the child with that foul smell. The mother should be sensible and sensitive towards the pain and agony of the child. And why was she adamant? Why she could not understand the pain of her child? Okay, so that is why she calls the mother stupid. Very important. Now as they converse, at the end, as I told you, the father was not ready to agree to that remaining of that rose smell or and all. So the father says, father means Jack, says that the smell becomes of that original foul smell. Now Joe as I told you, she is empathizing with that baby skunk. She says that then what happens to him? Do the friends play with him? क्योंकि उसके दिमाग में वही चल रहा था कि वो friends वापस आए कि नहीं, कि वो अकेला ही रह गया. So the father says that no, eventually means finally, gradually, lastly, at the end, friends वापस आ गया और उसके साथ खेलने लगा. Now this is again one more important lesson that the father wants to give, that if you have true friends, if the friends are genuine, they will accept you the way you are. You don't have to change yourself for your friends. If they are your true friends, they are genuine, they love you, they want you to be with them, then they will accept you the way you are. And Roger Skunk was accepted by his friends with his foul smell only. Okay, this is also a very important thing told by the father over here. However, Jo was not convinced. She kept on insisting that the smell should not be changed, the rose smell should be there. And finally, when the father did not do, she said, okay, tomorrow you tell me the same story but with a different ending. So she was very adamant. उसको बिल्कुल ये पसंद नहीं आ रहा था कि why this poor child, that Roger Skunk, will be again subjected to that pain and humiliation just because of the mother. Okay, so she again tells the father that tomorrow you tell me the same story with my kind of ending. So children, ये एक बहुत important question है that what was the ending that Jack was telling and why? What was the ending Joe was suggesting and why? Very important question, evergreen question. Like I have seen this question like umpteen number of times in Cbse question paper. Okay, so this is very important. Finally, Jack is tired and he goes downstairs to help his wife. Acha, one more important thing over here is his wife was pregnant. Okay, and she was doing some household work. So Jack was a little worried क्योंकि ये story चलता ही जा रहा था. It was not ending. It was a long storytelling session. As we know, he changed the ending. उसके लिए भी थोड़ा सा लंबा हो गया. After that, Joe was very adamant. She was interrupting and the ending was a little chaotic. So the storytelling session, became very, very long. So he was getting very impatient because he wanted Joe to fall asleep so that he could go down and help his wife do the household chores. Okay, but Joe finally did not sleep, so usko jaise taise he made her, calm down and lie on the bed, and he came down to help his wife. However, when he came down, he was so annoyed, he was so fatigued that he did not want to go and help his wife or talk to her, go even near her. A very important line and a very important question, children, over here. And he was caught in an ugly middle position. What does it mean? Very important question. See, when he came down, he was, as I told you, very annoyed, very irritated, very tired, because that entire storytelling session was futile, was fruitless, because the main intention of storytelling was what? To make Joe fall asleep. Joe was wide awake, jumping on the bed literally. So that storytelling session was a complete failure. Number 2, we know how Joe constantly interrupted him. Number 3, how she was adamant in changing the ending and questioning parental authority. Very important thing. She was basically questioning parental authority, which Jack did not like. He wanted to give her the message that parents are always right. The mother in that Roger Skunk's case was always right, and parents are always right, and the parents know what is right for their children. One should not discard their identity for peer pressure. Okay, there is a little train sound. I hope you people don't mind, you just ignore that. Okay, so this is what he tried to convey. But Joe was adamant, she was not ready to listen to that. Now, next thing, he was tired. His wife, on the contrary, thought that the storytelling session was very long and he should have come down to help her, but he did not help her as well. Moreover, this entire conversation or conflict that he had with Joe also stirred that doubt in his mind, that moral question that I discussed in the beginning, that how far is parental authority absolute? How far should parents impose their opinion on the children? And are parents always right, or should they listen to the perspective of their children as well? Now, this is explained by this phrase. If you see, half old tan and half new ivory. Half old tan, actually the his wife was painting the railings, so half was painted, half unpainted. But if you see the symbolic meaning of this, half painted means the new generation, half old, so he was kind of trapped between the old school opinion that parents are always right and the new thought, which was definitely kind of instigated, or I should say stirred by Joe, that parents are not always right and children can also be right, or identity really doesn't matter. So he himself was trapped in a dilemma, that who is right? Is he right, or was Joe's opinion correct? So he was actually in a mental turmoil and he was very irritated and caught in that ugly middle position. Okay, this is a very, very, very important question, children. Though I have given answers of all these questions in the description box, the link, as I always do. So please go through all the questions because they are difficult. This chapter is a little difficult, a little analytical. What are the questions that we can get from this chapter? Let's see. All the questions from the book are very, very important. We'll do those only. What is the moral issue that the story raises? I have discussed this again and again, so I'm not repeating this thing only. As I told you, the theme I discussed, individuality, generation gap, and parental authority and all that, exactly that we have to say. Again, I'm telling you, answer is given in the description box. How does Joe want the story to end and why? We know how she wants the story to end. She wants that rose smell to be retained, and why, that also we know, because she wanted the skunk to be happy playing with his friends. Obviously, the opposite of this question, how does Jack want the story to end and why? Okay, again we understand, because Jack is a representative of the parental generation, older generation. So he feels no, one should retain identity and should not give up to peer pressure. Okay, and parents are right. Whatever they say, you should obey to it. What makes Jack feel caught in the ugly middle position? As I discussed, again the question answer is given, so go through that. Very important question. And a very important question again, what is your stand? Who do you feel is correct? Because the author has not given us any, the author has, like it's an open-ended story. So who do you feel is correct, Jack or Joe? You are free to give your opinion as far you are able to justify your stand. You can say, yes, Jack is right. If our parents are, if our friends are our genuine friends, they will definitely accept us the way we are, just as Roger Skunk's friends also accepted him eventually. This is what is told in the story. However, it's not necessary that the parents are always right. They can also be, not right always. They can also be wrong rather, and they should definitely consider the viewpoint of their children as well. Okay, so we can give this type of a diplomatic answer rather. Why is an adult's perspective on life different from that of a child? Again, very important question. Why is an adult's perspective different from that of a child? See, adults judge any situation with a long-term kind of consequence. Okay, they have experience. दे नो कि दिस थिंग, ये जो हम आज आप काम कर रहे हैं उसका लॉन्ग टर्म में क्या रिजल्ट होगा, उसका असर आपके ऊपर कैसे होगा. सो दे नो द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज, दे हैव द फार साइट, दे डू इट विथ अ फार रीचिंग कॉन्सिक्वेंस. Children, they are small, they want instant happiness. They think of instant pleasure, instant joy, instant fulfillment and gratification. They don't realize कि इसका long term में हमारे life में क्या implication, क्या consequence होने वाला है. So this is again very important. One more very important question which is not there at the back of the chapter, but again very important, is definitely the title. Should wizard hit mommy? Means again the title is a question mark. The author doesn't give an answer. The author asks us that should the wizard hit mommy? That means should the rose smell be changed to the original foul smell or not? Okay, so we have to give our opinion, whatever you feel. If you feel it should be changed back because we should not lose our identity, या अगर आपको लगता है कि नो, आइडेंटिटी इज नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, आवर हैप्पीनेस इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, आवर एक्सेप्टेंस बाय द सोसाइटी इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, एक्सेप्टेंस बाय द फ्रेंड सर्कल इज इम्पॉर्टेंट, देन यू कैन से दैट. वॉट एवर यू से, यू हैव टू जस्टिफाई योर आंसर. Okay, I hope we have understood the chapter. Don't miss any part of the video and go through the question answers that I have provided in the description box. A little difficult chapter, little analytical. Please give your comments below if you have not understood any point or you want a separate chapter, I mean a separate video only on these 3-4 questions that we are dealing about. Please let me know, and I hope you enjoyed it and you have understood it. So subscribe my channel and share it with all your friends, and till then, good luck and happy viewing.